This event is called the Self-Starter Series. Real tactics, real implementation, real stuff that has worked for these entrepreneurs, and you're going to learn how you can implement them in your business. We look to hear from Anthony Baxter, CEO of Firefly. In less than 3 years, increased his growth of the company more than 2,000%. And we're here to listen to him live in the audience tonight. Let's get started.
Go Flavio.
But really, you're not here for me, you're here for Anthony. So Anthony is here as well. So, woo. He is, in the last 3 years, he's created amazing results for his company. So he is in the tech sector and has achieved more than 2,000% growth in the last 3 years alone. And so his company's only been around for the last 3 years. And so it's been picked up by Deloitte Fast 500. And he's New Zealand's fastest tech company for growth, and it's been recognized for that as part of the Fast 500. And not just that alone, it's actually the Firefly search has been recognized as the 17th fastest growing company out of Australasia. So there are many more companies that enter this. It's quite a prestigious award, and they've been awarded this. Also, more recently, the company Firefly has been in the finals, been awarded some final awards in the Excellence Awards, the Westpac Excellence Awards. And so all this he's done in less than 3 years, and he's under 30 years old, which is pretty amazing.
I feel a lot older right now.
Actually, we've just been talking before. So,
yeah, sorry about the bags. We've done like 50 hours this week already. So.
Do we need the mic, by the way? Yeah, I think we need the
I
mic.
can just yell it.
We'll yell it out. So I thought it would be a really cool story for Anthony to come here today. Thank you so much for coming, Anthony. Maybe we can give him a round of applause again. And so that's some pretty amazing stuff. So what I want to know, and what everyone here wants to know, is where did you start? How did you do it? What's the secret sprinkle sauce? The 11 secret spices? How did it work? Where did you start? Like, can you give us a bit of a background?
Those are a lot of questions, but I'll try my best.
All of them, all of them.
I think if we were to just go back before Firefly, I think it's important to go back because I truly believe in life we are wired at a young age to act a certain way. And through life, we learn a lot of lessons. So as a young kid, just to give you a bit of background, my mum was a single parent. I was living with my mum, and she was very poor, to be honest, like struggled to make ends meet a lot of the time. So I lived with my mum. However, my dad was an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. He's never worked for a soul in his life. He's had 35 companies. He used to own Nokia for New Zealand. So I had this very different upbringing. You could say I lived with my mum, and I saw how she used to work at the council, and she used to work very hard, but she wasn't working towards something that she was passionate about. She wasn't making a difference she didn't feel like. And she used to complain about it a lot, and I used to, be the ears to her problems and try and help her out and stuff. And just to take it back, I just wanted to share that with you because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Who's read that book before? And it really resonated with me because I think in that book there was two sides of two dads there, and for me it was my mum and my dad. So I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong or anything like that, but I learned through that upbringing that if I wanted to take charge of my life and if I wanted to create something, I had to go down a different route. I couldn't just work for someone else and help fulfill someone else's dream. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, but it just didn't mean much to me. So as a young kid, I guess, through to about 10 years old, I went to Stanmore Bay Primary School on the Hibiscus Coast, and I used to see opportunities everywhere. So I used to buy the kids' Game Boys. I think I sold about 10 Game Boys from kids for about $10, put them on the trade exchange for $100, and I had $1,000 cash at 10 years old. I thought that was freaking cool, right? From there, I flipped dinghies. So I bought dinghies for $50. I used to sand them back. I used to paint them, sell them for $800. I really enjoyed creating something out of nothing. And I think that practice and that practice of alchemy, it's the true essence of entrepreneurship. There's so many businesses out there that get funded, they're capital raised, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you can create something out of nothing and you can create value and you can put in the hard effort, imagine what you can do when you're funded with that attitude. So if we fast forward, let's say to about 20 years old, I was a little bit lost. I dropped out of I dropped out of university, so I was going to do a BCom, and that lasted three weeks. So that was a good stint. And it was funny because I was speaking to the teacher there, and she was talking about business and entrepreneurship, and I asked, what experience have you had in business? What have you done? And she said, well, I haven't done anything, but I know the theory and this is the principle. And it was at that moment where I said, okay, I need to find out myself what this is actually like. The only thing that I knew at the time was I could speak to people, I could talk to people, right? And I was 100% in control of my energy and hustle. So I naturally fell into sales. I worked 80 hours a week, I worked for 2 degrees, there was about 110 salespeople. I was 20 years old at the time, and predominantly it was 20, 30, 40-year-old people across the country. I just put in the effort. A lot of people ask, how did you become the top salesperson for 2 degrees? And I said, it was really simple. I called more people, I spoke to more people, I sent more proposals out, I actually engaged with my clients, and I actually gave a shit. Like, I really enjoyed speaking to other business owners and understanding what they did, and it gave me the ability to see business from a bird's eye view. Fast forward a little bit further, and I naturally fell into digital marketing. Who's heard of digital marketing? Yeah, it's sort of this huge beast that's moving at such an incredible speed. And if I think about 10 years ago, and I've got Travis at the back there, and he's our lead strategist at Firefly, and he was in the game where pop-ups used to appear on your browser, and someone would click on the pop-up, and then at the end, someone else would get paid. Does anyone remember pop-ups? It's very annoying. So I fell into a corporate role for a NASDAQ company that I won't mention. I'm sure you can figure it out if you do, if you search my name on Google. And I fell in love with digital marketing. We had the ability to help businesses grow, help businesses connect with more customers, and we could do this all online. I thought it was absolutely amazing. This was about 5 years ago now, so Google AdWords and search was, really, really hot, and I fell in love with it. But unfortunately, it wasn't quite what I had set out to do when I was younger. I'd lost track. I wanted to be a self-starter, and I wanted to create my own journey. I wanted to be in control of where I was going. So I literally handed in my notice, and at that time, I'm not a good saver. If anyone knows me in this room, I'm highly impulsive, and I don't do a lot of planning. So big picture, and I have a co-founder and business partner that helps with the detail. And I left this company with $100 in my bank account, no laptop. I just broke up with my girlfriend at the time. I was living in a little flat in Aranoi Road in Mount Wellington. And I said, what, I'm gonna do it no matter what. We'll find a way, I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. So we started Firefly in my bedroom, and I had a desk, and the desk was held up with a Yellow Pages book because it was quite wobbly. I found it on Trade Me. I had a 10-inch laptop that I bought off Trade Me for about $80. So it was tiny, right? We were doing everything off this laptop. We were setting up the Google AdWords campaigns. We were setting up Google Analytics campaigns. By the way, we didn't know what we were doing. 4 years ago, we had no idea what we were doing. We found this thing called YouTube, and we watched it every single day, right? Marco, my co-founder, he's the COO of Firefly currently, and he's very analytical, very process-driven. He was a lifesaver because I would go out and I would go and see clients, and I would reach out to my network, and I'd have this 10-inch laptop, and I'd be at cafes, and we'd be squinting, looking at these at this data and these proposals, etc. And I'd come back to see Marco, and I'd say, Marco, we're creating a campaign for this client, and we're going to make it happen. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but I truly believe that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people wait for the perfect conditions, right? It's like perfect timing. They need money. Their product needs to be perfect. They have to get everyone to validate their product. by the way, is really important, but yeah. But I'd already validated that digital marketing was the future, and so many businesses in New Zealand weren't doing it right, and they needed to rely on someone to get the job done. And we, were the company at that stage that was in the bedroom, but we would put in the hard yards for our clients. So if the client, if our customer, they signed up for a campaign, we would spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours, whatever it takes to get the result for them. And that was the key difference. So that's the start. And if you are looking for one single answer to say, how did we see this growth? There isn't one single answer. We changed our business 20 times. We've failed 100 million times. Every day we fail. Today I've failed, and that's amazing because every time you fail, you have a lesson learned, you move forward. Now, I very rarely will make the same mistake twice, and if I do, I hope someone slaps me because that's not acceptable. You've got to fail, but you've got to fail really fast. You've got to learn really fast, and you've got to move really fast. So it's Thursday today, and I think me and Flavia have probably put in about 50 hours already, Tuesday to Thursday, so right?
I'm actually not awake. Cool. That's a very inspirational story, I think, and if I speak on behalf of everyone as well, that's really cool. And I think you've hit a few nails on the head. Which, like one that stood out for me is that a lot of entrepreneurs wait to create a super awesome product that's 100%, fulfills all these feature sets, like solves all these problems for customers. And by the way, we need to market it to everyone in the world. Just doesn't work that way. And I think this is the key difference between a technical entrepreneur and a salesy entrepreneur, or like an executive entrepreneur. That's right. Yeah. You will charge at 120 miles an hour, yes, and your technical co-founder will run behind you going, stop.
He wants to kill me sometimes, by the way. He's like, what have you done? But we make it happen.
But so next question then. So you have a technical co-founder, right?
Yes.
Now, your company is obviously a marketing company.
Yep.
You're like, it's not a marketing company anymore. It's changed 20 times since. But you started off as a marketing company. It's a super saturated field. And I already know the answer to this a little bit, but you weren't just a marketing company. You had technology aspects in it, and really something that made you stand out, right?
Yes.
So if I think about the super saturated market 4 years ago, how did you make yourself stand out? What are some of the steps that you took, and how did you make yourself stand out?
Yeah, I think we found a common theme in the space was transparency. So we wanted to give our customers and the people that we work with complete transparency over what we were doing. So we went to market and we found that there was certain technology in New Zealand that was being used, and we thought it could be a lot better than this. So at a very early stage, we picked up exclusive technology for call tracking, which is under Wildjar. So they're amazing. They work with Hyundai, Toyota, and a whole bunch of companies in Australia. And that gave us a technical advantage, I guess, very early on in the piece when we were just focusing on single service campaigns. But that's only one piece of it. I think what really gave us a point of difference was our storytelling ability, our message to market, and what we stood for. So if we looked at all of the players in the market who had followed suit and they'd scaled up, many digital agencies in New Zealand have grown to over 100 staff and are non-existent today. And what I believe is the case is, there was no purpose-driven mentality there at all. The whole system was profit-driven. Now, there's two types of business in this world. There's a profit-driven business and there's a purpose-driven business. So in Firefly, we have a clear set of values, a very, very clear vision, which is to impact and educate the global business community through digital marketing. So not only do we want to help and inspire and educate, but obviously get results as well. And we just stay true to that in everything that we do. So when we hire, we look at our values, we look at our vision, and we hire based on those values. Every single decision we make in the business, we go, is this in line with Firefly's DNA? Even if this decision is going to make us a truckload of money, if it sits outside of the values of the company and what we stand for, we will know we won't do it. It's really simple. But when we share this purpose and when we share who we are and what we stand for, and when I say we, I mean my team, because my team are behind the purpose and what we're trying to achieve, it almost goes viral because people want to get behind something that's doing good, right? Businesses now these days have to do something more than just make money for the shareholders behind the business. There has to be a intangible or tangible impact on the world, I truly believe. So, if you read a lot of Richard Branson, he truly believes this as well. So there's that. And then lastly, I think if you look at how we made a difference in the market, I think if you look at New Zealand, there's a very single-minded approach to digital marketing. So a lot of companies in the market, they focus on one thing, and niching is really great. But what we found was there wasn't a company that could sit with a company at a board level, do all the strategy, understand a client's personas, understand all the channels that they need to operate in, and fully create a strategy for their business. Because 98% of the businesses that we talk to don't have a digital strategy. And I'm talking not just small businesses, but companies that we're speaking to today that are 10, 20, $30 million revenue businesses. They do not have a digital strategy. How crazy is that, right?
When you start off as the solo entrepreneur, two guys in a pub talking about how they're going to take over the world, the mindset is very different, and it's probably a little bit more ego-driven, right? And as you grow your business and to get other people on board, it changes you as a person, it changes you as a leader. And can you just tell us a little bit about that change that you basically probably were forced to go through to take that company to this kind of growth?
Yeah, I mean, every single business, a business will only grow at the same rate as the leader within it. So over the last 3.5 years, not only has Firefly changed hundreds of times over, but so have we as leaders, right? So, and this has been amazing, by the way. I think, I've got to be careful what I say here, but flag a degree, go do a business, create a business for 3 years. You're going to learn and change and just learn so many lessons. Or do both. That's the best, probably.
Thank you, University.
I'm not going to do. But yes, I think I honestly believe that business is just an amazing way to change if you're prepared to change. So. To enable change, you have to be prepared to fail. You have to be prepared to put your hand up and say, my bad. And you have to be open to feedback as well. So one key aspect of my personal growth to date, and every day I'm trying to grow, but is to actually find mentors and people that have been there and done that. So through the first 2 years of business, I guess I probably had a bit of an ego, you might say. Maybe.
It wasn't you in particular, I just mean entrepreneurs.
And I thought, I don't need anyone's help. I'll do this myself, easy. Boy, was I wrong. And the moment that I let my guard down and said, actually, I'm going to go ask for help, because if I can learn off people who have been there and done that, I can move this along faster. I can learn lessons faster. So I started asking for help, and from the back of that, and I don't want to get all wishy-washy on people, but I am a true believer of the law of attraction. So I was a follower of The Entourage, right? So I used to watch The Entourage, and I used to watch Jack Deloitte speak about business and things like that. And I went over to Sydney, and I went over to The Entourage. I met Jack briefly. I had a walk around, and I was about to sign up to the program, right? It was called a Start, Scale, and Sellable and Scalable, I believe. And I was very, very close to signing up to this program where I could learn about business and be around people that have been there and done that. And I unfortunately listened to my accountant, and I listened to other people in the business that said, no, you shouldn't do that. You should spend money on the business. Don't invest in yourself. It's not a good time for that. Do that in a couple of years. And I listened to it, right? And a couple of months later, I thought, I made the wrong decision. I've really messed up. I need to invest in myself, and in turn, that will help grow the business. 6 months later, I was at a gym called TomFit. I met a guy called Tommy, he's a good mate of mine now, right? Does anyone know Tommy? Yeah. He's a great guy, right? And he was telling me, he was like, we got on really well. We're talking about business. He's been in business. I'm talking about my challenges. And he goes, I've got a guy that you need to meet, right? He's going to help you take your business from 2 to 20 million. And I was blown away. I was like, amazing. Please introduce me to this guy. I'm ready. Like, show me this guy. So he goes, okay, just wait 5 minutes. I'll just give him a call. So I gave him a call. He goes, okay, cool. Yep, yeah, he's keen to talk to you, so he's going to give you a call tomorrow. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? No, don't worry, I'm not going to tell you that. Just hold on, get ready, because shit's about to get real. So the next day, I'm waiting for this call from this mysterious guy, and I get a call, and I get a call from a guy called Rich. Now, Rich is a good friend with Travis at the back. Rich was the general manager of the Entourage, and Tommy had no idea, right? So here I was trying to sign up to this course at the Entourage, and I couldn't do it, and I was beating myself up about it. And then the general manager, the CEO who grew this company from 0 to 100 staff in under 2 years, just appears, and he's ready to be my mentor. So it was pretty amazing, and I guess through that journey, now Rich is an investor, he's an executive director of the business, and I've learned a lot of lessons from Rich. So, and other coaches as well, other mentors, other people in my team, right? Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Be the dumbest person in the room. I feel like I'm probably the dumbest person in the room right now, because you guys are all amazing. You're striving to build businesses. I have no idea at what stage of the journey that you're at, but the moment that you say, you're here or you don't need to learn anything is the moment that you've lost. So I'm always learning.
If you do surround yourself with all these smart people, and in the early stages in particularly, you probably don't have enough money to keep these smart people around, yes. Right? How do you keep them engaged? How do you make them stick around through the tough times? And obviously, there's purpose, there's vision, but how do you actually do it?
Really good question.
Wasn't prepared for that one.
There's multiple ways, right? If you truly believe in the business and what you're doing and your journey, potentially, you could look at a sweat equity deal where someone trades their time for a piece of the pie. Now, I would much rather have a far bigger pie and a smaller piece of it that's actually kicking goals and driving towards the reason why I started this business versus being 100% owner of a small business that unfortunately doesn't quite make it. And the stats are so alarming of businesses that don't make it after 3 years. It's quite scary. So you could look at sweet equity, and then there's amazing organizations out there, right? I'm sure the E-Center offers amazing services. There's a plug for you right there. You've got a TEED Business Mentors as well, so that's a free service. So I've had a few mentors through a TEED. And if you reach out to people and you respect their time and you shout them lunch and you just ask them some questions and you build an actual authentic relationship that isn't just take, but you give back as well, the people are prepared to lend you their time. So you're in charge of that, and if you haven't got the right circle of influence around you at the moment, you can change that. A lot of people say, well, all my friends aren't in business, so it's not fair, it's not the same. Go change that. Go befriend some people that are in business. It's really simple, and you don't have to go to networking events and drop a net. Please. Yes, you do. Go to networking events. Be authentic about it. LinkedIn, reach out to people, ask questions, and even use the internet. Right? There's so much stuff out there that you can learn from people. You don't necessarily have to know them. Autobiographies, books, YouTube, all of those things, right? There's so many lessons to be learned there.
Is there anyone that has got a question?
I guess, being so young, do you ever encounter moments, or did you previously, where you weren't taken seriously?
Yeah.
And everyone always references millennials, and they want things so quickly, and they don't know the hustle and all that kind of stuff. And if that happened, how did you deal with it and overcome it?
I used to get this all the time, right? And you know what it was? it wasn't my age, it was my mindset. Because I thought that myself, it was playing out. So I was like, oh, you know, I'm so young, how is this guy gonna take me seriously, right? And the moment I said, who gives a crap about that? If I can add value to this person, if I have knowledge that's gonna add value to this business, it doesn't matter about age, that all went away. So you have entrepreneurs doing amazing things who are like 19, 20, 21, 22. I met a kid at an event called Change the World in Brisbane 2 weeks ago. He was 11 years old. He's raised over $250,000, and he's got a business, and you know, he walks 50 kilometers once a year to fundraise for sick kids, right? And he has an entrepreneurial mindset. He's 11. Now people take him seriously, right? The guy's like this big. So yeah, I think it's a mindset thing, and the moment that you push that away, just watch. Yeah, just watch what happens. Yeah.
Bam. Oh, thank you. This is Drew, the lovely assistant today.
You've now got a pretty large staff base at Firefly. What are the key components you look for in a person when hiring somebody?
Yeah, great question. So the way that we hire is very similar to Google's process. So we have probably quite a few interviews. We have 4 interviews with a potential staff member. I'm the last person to take the interview. I'm the person trying to talk them out of the job. And if they're still sitting there, then they're the right person. I'm like, you're crazy to work for us. We're a startup. We work 50, 60, 70 hours, you know. Go work for a corporate. What are you doing? They're probably going to pay you more money. And if they're still sitting there and they want the role and they want to make an impact, then they're the right person. How does the team hire? Really good question. It's definitely a process where we want to get to know the person, their attitude, how they align to our values. So we've created certain specific questions that align to our values. I think if you said to someone, one of our values is we hustle, the other is complete openness. Now if I said, Mark, do you hustle? Because I'm looking for a hustler. What are you going to say? Yes. So we've got to be like, we've got to frame these questions in ways that we can actually get the true, authentic person that's sitting in front of us. And we hire on attitude and culture first, and then skill set second. Of course, they need to be able to do the role, and if it's a technical role, that's really important. But you know, culture is so important. You have to protect culture in your organization, in your team. You know, one person off culture can just do so much damage. I've seen it personally in my organization. And when you have the right team, they'll also protect culture as well. So if they see something out of line, they'll stand up and go, that's not the Firefly way. So the moment we have everyone on the same picture and you're doing it as a team is when you've won. So yeah, I recommend not just taking the interviews by yourself, but getting your team to actually conduct them as well, because they're the ones that are going to be working aside that person as well.
No, Jake's fine. So I think you've done incredibly well.
Thanks.
You don't need me to tell you that, but
Appreciate it.
I think you definitely have. But fastest growing doesn't necessarily mean biggest. So
No, it
where
doesn't.
do you see yourself in terms of market position? Because even in New Zealand, they've got a lot of incumbents that are part of global agencies who are
Yes.
doing very much across the board what you're doing in terms of that digital marketing product. Do you see yourself maintaining that kind of fighter position where you're punching, not necessarily above your weight, but you're punching up and you're trying to steal away from those bigger agencies? Or do you see yourself ultimately becoming similar to those in terms of size and scale?
Yeah. If you were to ask me this question 3 years ago, we optimized Firefly to help the SME market. Yeah, and we brought on technology like algorithms and things like that that did a lot of the heavy lifting so that we could help thousands of businesses. Now, through the evolution of Firefly, we've changed into an end-to-end agency. So from strategy to complete rollout. AdWords, social media, content marketing, email marketing, setting up foundations, etc., all digital. Yeah, a lot of clients will want to go with the badged agency, the name, right? And you know what, if that's the type of client, it's probably going to be more of a corporate. Maybe that's not a Firefly client, because we really like to help businesses that really feel the growth, that want to see growth, rather than just throw $100,000 at just brand awareness, right? That's not our play. If we can move the needle on a business and actually change their market position so that they can achieve their goals, that is what we're about. So our target market will be a business that may be sitting at a million revenue or 500K revenue that wants to double or triple over the next couple of years, all the way up to about 20 mil. Now, if there's anyone bigger than that, like Air New Zealand, and like, we'd love to work with them if there's anyone in the room. But they're probably looking for different things like brand awareness and integrating digital into their traditional, etc., right? We aren't big believers in traditional media. Like, honestly, I'll be straight up with you. And so we probably won't attract that client, and that's okay. In terms of our market position, we have a lot more growth to go through. And you know what, like, to see the growth that we have over the last 3 years is phenomenal, but we're only just getting started. Yeah, we've created foundations now, and the team, I'm more confident in our team than ever before. So, like, just to give you a bit of clarity, we work with just under 200 businesses at the moment, and I want to work with 1,000 in New Zealand. So we want to scale, grow this business. We also want to venture into Australia as well. So that's my key mission this year. Launch Australia, keep growing the business, but stay true to who we are and do it in a responsible way. Because the moment that it doesn't happen in a responsible way and the service starts to drop, and it's not good, right? So growth costs a lot of money, by the way, burns a lot of cash. It's pretty hard to manage. So you've got to be careful with that growth. But we're very, very hungry. So we want to continue to grow. Yeah.
So where did you get the name?
Where did we get the name? We wrote 100 names down, and like, everyone's like, what's the name mean? What does it mean? And then there was the Firefly TV program, right? And Marco had seen it like a week ago, so we just put it on the list. There was 100 other names, and I think the company name's Firefly Search, but our brand and our name's Firefly. It stood out. It sounded different. No one in New Zealand was called Firefly in our space, right? We dug a little bit deeper, and a Firefly's light is one of the most efficient lights in the world, right? So we're in the marketing space, we help light people up. So I can tell you that fluffy story, right? Does that sound good? Honestly, we just liked the name and how it sounded. I really like the name.
Just quickly, just like sort of a byproduct question of what Jonathan was asking, but like in terms of being able to provide somebody a start to finish sort of package from strategy to delivering, you know, across social media, SEM, whatever it may be, did you find throughout your million failures that it was more strategic to go about, I guess, making one product a pillar of your company before you move on to the next?
100%. The first product that we focused on was AdWords. And by the way, we didn't roll out any other services until we got that right. And then that created obviously a product and service that we could go out in the marketplace and say, yeah, we are good at this. Yeah. We're really good at this, and you know, we can add a lot of value. And then off the back of that, we started to grow and move into different sectors. Now, the growth curve and the journey and the lessons were a little bit easier through the other services as we ventured to become a full service, because we brought people that were smarter than us who had been there and done that before, but there were so many lessons to be learned. And as we grew, there was very laser focused services, and now it's more adapted into an agile marketing play. So working fluidly across the services and having the team work together and communicate is really key. So that was a massive challenge, right? You have these compartmentalized services, and you know, if you've got a business and you've got different niches or different product lines, trying to get synergy between it can be difficult. And that's where you need to create structure in your team, collaboration, and that's where we eventually moved to now. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with leaning on contractors and specialists through your journey. So nothing wrong with that. as long as they create amazing work, you don't need to hire all these people. We wanted to bring the team internally, so across all of our services, we have an internal team that we outsource 1 or 2 very small things, right? But ultimately, we wanted complete control over the quality. So if you do outsource, that can be a major challenge. I recommend outsourcing locally, and if you can create a system where you can communicate abroad, amazing time differences. It's really hard to juggle. It's just something that we weren't prepared to do because the quality dropped. In certain other industries and niches, outsourcing can be amazing. But yeah, does that answer your question? Okay, thanks.
Maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So we've got 2 questions right here.
Yeah, thanks Anthony for your time.
No problem.
Just what would you have done differently, like at the start when you were starting up?
Everything. What would I do differently? I would get mentors and a circle of influence around me way earlier. So I only brought mentors and people that I could ask questions and lean on at the end of year 2, start of year 3. So from year 0 to year 2, not ever running a digital marketing agency, not having any experience, not ever running a business, like we fell on our face every day. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you had a mentor or someone, I'm sure the growth curve would even be faster, and maybe there would be some massive mistakes that I made that probably wouldn't have happened. So just structure and the way that you're thinking. So yeah, it would definitely be that. So if you're starting a business now, or you're in a business that's been going for a year or 2, like that is the one key takeaway I recommend. Audit your circle of influence. Who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with at the moment? Who's in your business right now that you can talk to and lean on and work together with? Do you have any mentors? And focus on those 3 questions. If your circle of influence is pulling you down, like whether it's even your family or friends, like you have to audit that. You need to change that. You want people around you that are going to lift you up, that are going to pull you through the hard times, that are going to stay true and believe in what you're doing, and that are going to help you. So, and then one day you can do the same to someone else. So, my circle of influence, people help me out every day. It's amazing. And then I can help other people, right? So it goes both ways. Yeah.
So just to sum things up, so a couple of key things that stood out from Anthony tonight was that first and foremost, he changed from being a money and revenue driven company to really being more purpose driven, right? Really finding your purpose of why you exist. And this in essence allowed him to grow both personally as a person, but also grow as a person himself to bring other people on board to follow his vision.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And through that, obviously, he learned a lot of that through not the books that he read, but the blogs that he read. But you've got inspirational speakers. You always talk about Gary Vee. You talk about Jack Deloitte. You always mention other people that you look up to.
Yes.
And so it's really good to see you taking inspiration from them.
Yep.
So, seeing this as a wrap up for this evening, I wanted to thank everyone very much for coming, making the effort. And I wanted to thank you, Anthony. And now I was thinking about, what do you get a man that really wants a Ferrari? Not a Ferrari, obviously.
You got me a Ferrari. Oh,
I didn't get you a Ferrari.
Amazing.
But
look at this guy.
I did see you eyeing out my t-shirt before.
Ah, yeah, thank you.
And it's like, oh, Flav, you've got such a cool t-shirt. I wonder if I can have one.
Oh my God.
Here is one I prepared earlier.
Did you get my size?
So, because you're going through this rapid growth at the moment,
what did you get?
you're in bulk mode.
True.
For winter.
Large, good.
So I got you a large.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, man.
Now, this is only the first event in the series. So if you're interested to learn more about what is happening in our community, the next events that are coming up, click the button below and we'll get in touch with you over the next event. If you as an entrepreneur or someone that you might know has got a really good story to tell, we want to get them along as a speaker as part of our series.